Hi, and welcome back to Erin Makes Designs, where today I'm going to show you how to make this super simple positive pineapple using your 22-pin circular knitting machine. Let's get going. To make your little positive pineapple, you will need a 22-pin circular knitting machine. This one here is the Addi Express Professional by Addi, but you can use any make you like. Some Aran worsted weight yarn. This is Caron Simply Soft in Sage and Lemonade, as well as a DK sport weight cotton that I like to use for embroidery, some polyfill or filling of your choice, a darning needle, a pair of scissors, some push pins to hold your work together while you sew, as well as a little tag. If you like, you'll see down in the captions I have a link to my email list where I have put together a pack of puns for you. If you sign up, I will send that to you. Let's get on with making our pineapple. The pineapple is made up of 3 leaves. 2 of the leaves, these ones on the side, are the shorter tubes. They are made up of 8 rows each, and the center tube is made up of 10 rows, and the pineapple's body is 30 rows. I'll put those row counts down in the caption for you to see. Right, let's cast on, and our knit are 2 leaves that are 8 rows each. Now, a lot of you will know that the 22-pin machines have a common problem, and that is where within the first couple of rows, the yarn snags on these pegs. Just within the first couple of rows after cast on, I'll show you what I do to solve that problem. You will see that I have a video where I go into detail about why I think this happens, but I won't go into that now. Right, after I cast on, I always reset my counter. Have my darning needle ready, and I'm watching here, and as soon as I see the yarn snag on the peg, I lift it up and over. There we go again. I'll just make my way around until the yarn no longer snags. And once it has stopped snagging, I will then crank away as quickly as I normally would. There we go. So now I'm going to crank my first 2 tubes, and they will be 8 rows each. There we go. And I'll just do a basic cast off. Oh, I hope you can't hear that. Somebody nearby is starting to use a pneumatic drill, a jackhammer, and there's this noise in the background. Hopefully the microphone isn't picking that up. I don't have my window open, so hopefully that noise isn't bothering you. When I cast off, I always pick up a few stitches individually, usually about first 5 or 6, and then once I've done that, I pick up multiple stitches in one go just to make it faster. Right, now that is our first leaf of 8 rows. Now that you've seen me cast on and off, you don't need to see me do that again. You can pause the video here while you make 2 leaves of 8 rows, 1 leaf of 10 rows, and the pineapple body of 30 rows, and I'll see you when you're done. Pause the video now. Let's get on with the construction of the pineapple. We have our 3 pieces. We have the pineapple body, which is 30 rows, and we have what will make up the 3 leaves at the top. We have 1 that is 10 rows and 2 that are 8. Let's start off with the pineapple. You're going to start by making it into what looks like a hat, which everyone should know how to do when using circular knitting machine. I always think it's the very first project you should make on a machine is a hat. So you're going to turn it into itself, pull 1 tail through, Pull the other one tight and tie them off in a secure knot, making sure you pull your tails tightly. And we don't need to worry about hiding our tails in our work because we're just going to turn this back inside itself. And we can keep our tails to use for sewing in the project. I find to get rid of the ridging that comes at the top of our work, when you're working with the machines, you always get that bunching up. Just put your fingers inside. This works really well on the 22 pin, but not as well with the larger machines. And pull down, and that will make it nice and smooth at the top. Now that that's smooth, I can add some filling into here. When I'm using polyfill, I like to tease it apart so that I don't get any thick clumps. And fill that in. You can use any filling of your choice. I sometimes will use my tails, all of my cutoffs that we accumulate so many of those, don't we? Now, at this point, we might decide if we're going to add or take away filling. But for right now, that's going to be enough. What I want to do is I want to close this end by creating a drawstring. So I'm going to take the longest of my tails. If yours isn't very long, you might want to get yourself a little bit of a longer piece. And I'm going to go all the way around, picking up every other leg of each stitch that's around my opening. So come nice and close. There we go. I'll pick up that leg and then this one. And I'm going to make my way all the way around that opening to create my drawstring. It's another beautiful day here in the south of England. It took our summer a long time to start, so my family and I are trying to make the most of it while it's here. Now, England has a reputation of being a rainy place, which quite honestly it has been this year. But when that sun shines, it is glorious. It's so beautiful here. Right, I have made it all the way around, picking up every other leg. Now, when I go to close this, it can be quite frustrating. I'm sure lots of you have experienced this when using the tubes. This wants to keep opening up. To prevent that from happening, I'm going to go all the way around with my drawstring again, and I'm going to show you how I do it. But first, I can tell that I need a bit more filling. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to add a bit more. You want to make sure that you are adding enough filling so that your work is firm, but not so much so that the stitches are pulled all out of shape. That doesn't look very nice. And I think it makes the pieces look a little bit amateurish. And especially if you are thinking about gifting your work or selling your pieces, you want to make sure that you are having them look as best as you can. And that's what a lot of these tutorials are about, is showing you how to make your pieces look the best that they can. Right, now that I've got the amount of polyfill that I want in there, I'm going to go all the way around. I'll pick up this first leg that we went through, but instead of picking up every leg, I'm going to pick up every other one of these. So I will skip this one, pick up the next one, skip that one, pick up this one, skip that, and pick up that. And keep going around, just picking up every other one. And you'll see it makes closing it so much easier. And this works too if you're making hats for closing the ends. if you're using the larger machines. And I will go through that last one, just so that my tails are side by side. It makes it easier when I want to hide them. And then look what happens. I'll pull that tail, and I'm going to pull this one, so that I'm pulling both rounds evenly. Look, it doesn't want to open up, just pulls nice and tight. Let's have a look at our pineapple. The body, I'm really happy with that. And then I will cut these tails. Pardon me, I'm not going to cut them yet. Don't cut your tails, don't do that. Tie your tails off in a tight knot. Make it really secure. And pop your other tail back onto your darning needle. And we are going to hide our tails in our work. What does that mean? That means I'm going to find an opening to come into there. Come through, bringing my darning needle through. Try not to break your yarn as you're coming through. Don't come through your legs or your bars. Come through your stitches and pull your tails out. A quick snip. And we will stretch everything back out. And there we have the body to our pineapple. I'm going to show you how to make one of the leaves. And then when I'm done showing you how to do that, you can pause the video and you can get on with making the other two leaves. The first thing you're going to start doing is pulling your tails nice and tight. You don't need to worry about closing off these ends because we will be using our tails to sew in our mattress stitch. I find that this makes too wide of a leaf, and so what I like to do is fold it in half like that, so it's half the width. And then we are going to mattress stitch these edges together. Now I'm just going to see if I can brighten this so you can see this very dark. Start by threading one of your tails onto your needle. Find the column of stitches. Now, a column is when the stitches are on top of one another. A row is when your stitches are beside each other. So we are going to find a column of stitches that goes nicely up one side and a column of stitches that go up nicely up the other side. And you want to make sure that when doing your mattress stitch, you are sticking to the same column. You don't want to be picking up from other columns. If you do that, your work will become messy and you won't be very happy with that. Start off by bringing your needle through to the first, in between the first stitch in the column. And then what I'd like you to do is to pick up, here's the stitch we're going to work into. We're not picking up the legs, we are going to pick up the bar that falls in between the legs. So you'll pick up one bar and then come over to the other side. Make sure you're working into the correct stitch here and pick up the bar that's between its legs. Come back to the other side, pick up the bar of the next stitch, and you will go back and forth all the way down both columns from side to side, picking up the bars. Now, some people when they mattress stitch will pick up 2 bars at a time. That is perfectly fine. You can do that. Happens to be a bit faster, obviously, but I prefer to pick up 1 at a time because then I can be sure that I'm for me, I'm being neat, but you do whatever you'd like to do. Now you'll notice I am not pulling my tail tight while I'm doing the stitching. If I did that, it would start to pull the stitches inwards and then it'd be hard to find the bars. So keep your sewing loose until you get to the end. We're almost there now. It's a little tricky to find. There it is. Okay, and then we get to pull the thread to bring the sides together. I always think that looks so good. There we go. And mattress stitch is my favorite stitch because it creates this invisible seam. You can't even see where we sewed that together. Now what I'd like you to do is, here's our other tail from this end. Bring your needle through and come up beside that tail. Oops. You don't want to pull too tightly or else it will pull this work, the bottom upwards like I just did. When you get here, tie your two tails together into a secure knot. And just like we did with the body of the pineapple, thread the other tail onto the needle. Make sure that has stayed in focus. And bring your needle back in and out, again making sure you're not splitting your yarn as you're coming out. Pull your tails through. Cut them off and pull it out. And there we have our first leaf. And I'm going to keep all of my tails aside so that I can use them when I start with the sewing. Pause the video here and then I will meet you once you have your other two leaves ready, and we will begin the construction of the rest of the pineapple, putting it together. Now that we have our leaves put together, we can get on with attaching them to the top of our pineapple. The first thing you're going to do is figure out which end is the neater of the ends of your leaf. So here I have this, I don't know if you can see, this little bit of a gapiness at the bottom. So that is going to be what attaches onto my pineapple. So I'll find that for all of them. That one looks really nice. Right, and place them together like this. And you're just going to run a few stitches in and out along the bottom to attach all three of the leaves together. I apologize if you can hear that siren in the background. It's so hot here right now. Today has got to be one of the hottest days of the summer thus far, and so I have to have my windows open. Anyway, pinch your leaves together like this. This is where my pineapple is going to attach to, where the leaves are going to attach to the pineapple. And I'm just going to do a quick little running stitch just to hold them together. And just picking up the bottom stitches of each leaf. Trying, as I said before, not to split your yarn. Just go in one end and then I'm just going to come back through and do that a couple of times. Now, I don't want to be having my yarn cross over the legs. So I'm going to come back in the stitch I came out, but I'm going to go in the other direction, if that makes any sense. so that it doesn't just come back out. This is just a really quick little back and forth. Leave yourself a tail. Again, don't cross over the legs because you will see that when you are finished. Come back through, sticking to these stitches along the bottom of the leaf. There we go. And one more time. There. And our leaves will be held together in that nice shape to create the, is it a crown? The top of the pineapple crown. If you happen to know, you can tell me in the comments. I think it's a crown. Right, I'm going to bring my needle through to meet up with my tail. And like every other time, I'm going to tie my knots and then hide my tails inside the work, which by now you should know, but put your tail back onto your needle. Bring it. Find where you're going to come back in. Bring it through the piece. You're going through the middle. You know, you're not coming out the other side. I'm sure you know that. Now I'll pull my tails, just like before. Perfect. And there we have the beginning of our leaf construction. And the next thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin it to the top of my pineapple. Now to decide which end to sew your leaves to, you need to have a look. Now this end here is really lovely and smooth, and that's the one where we pulled our tails in tight when we made our hat at the very beginning. And this end here, it's a little bit thicker all around here, where the drawstring that we created has pulled in the material. And so it's a little bit more bunched up there. And this is the end in which we are going to attach our leaves to. You want to pin it so that the center leaf is right over the top closure. It'll be a little bit finicky to do, but the more time you spend on it, the neater your pineapple will look when you're finished. So, oh, my son has just come back from his bike ride. I'm happy with how that's looking so far. Good. All right. Now we can take one of our longer tails and we are going to go around stitching the pineapple body to the leaves. And that's really easy to do. I will start off. I'm going to start on an end, on a side where the sharp end of my pin isn't, because it's really easy to get the yarn snagged on that and it is annoying. Right, so I'm going to pick up a stitch on the body and come up and pick up a stitch on the leaf. And that's what I'll do. I will go from the leaf to the body, picking up stitches. Make sure you don't split your yarn, and you can on the body, because there are obviously more stitches around than there are on the leaf, pick up more than one stitch at a time. And I am going to make sure I come in and out beside my yarn each time. What does that mean? Let me show you. So I'm down here on the body. I'll come up and get the legs of a stitch on the leaves. It's not very tiny. So this is where my yarn came out on the body, and I want to come in just next to it and pick up the stitches next to that. There we go. And then back up, and I'm going to get the next stitch on the leaf. And each time I can pull it a little bit tighter. I can pull this pin out now, as I'm now coming around to the other side of the body. I don't want to get caught up on that yarn. And we're just making our way all the way around the pineapple. I used to go out and ride my bike when I was younger. I love that. I live in a village that is safe enough, meaning that there's not a lot of traffic. It's quite a quiet village. I mean, of course, we have a busy main road, but it's not, most of the streets are nice and quiet, and it's very safe. Everyone is looking out for the kids. Very friendly. No one is trying to stop children from playing out. I know in some areas that can be a problem. It's really sad. Not in my village. It's very welcoming. Right, I'm going to take that pin out. I feel that the leaf is in there securely. Okay. Out there. So I'm going to come down. And go all the way around. Sorry, I didn't say this when we started, but I am picking up both layers. Remember, we turned our work inside itself, so we have 2 layers to the body of the pineapple. And when I'm going in and out of it, I'm trying to snag a bit of that inside layer. It gives it more stability at the top here. If I was going around just the outside layer, my leaves would stretch and pull off of the body of the pineapple. There we go. We're almost all the way around. I'm really sorry, I don't know if I said this before. I've had to stop filming a couple of times to go and deal with things to do with children. But I'm filming on my camera, which means lighting isn't as great as I would like it to be. When we were forming the leaves, I was able to brighten the filming, but at this point, if I were to brighten it now, then every time I brought the pineapple up or down, the camera would lose focus. That happened to me when I was filming my positive peas, and I had to refilm that a couple of times. Hopefully I haven't said this already. That'd be silly. I don't think I'd be able to edit it out. Oh well, if I've said it twice, it's because I'm really thinking about it and I don't want it to bother you. That this very dark green yarn is not the best for filming with. But in my opinion, that's the color of pineapple leaves, right? We are almost all the way around. Just going to get here. That great. Now, before I tie this off, I just want to make sure I am happy with how this has turned out. Right. Let's bring our tails together. Now let's bring that through to meet each other. And just like all of the other times, I'm going to tie a knot, a nice secure knot. And then I will hide my tails in my work. Now, let's see. It's a frustrating thing that happens when your tail is too short like this. You'll get it onto your needle, you'll try and get the end of your needle in, and your tail will keep pulling out. There is a way to stop that from happening, and that is, before you thread this tail back onto your needle, bring your needle back in, like you're getting ready to hide them. Now this is a dark yarn, so I'm not going to bring it out through the yellow of the pineapple's body. I'm going to bring it out through the leaf, pull it through. The knot down there is hidden, and just like every other time, we will go. Great. Now, I don't leave my pineapple like this. I like to pull its body out to make it look more of a pineapple shape. And then the leaves, what I do is I squish them, flatten them to make them broader. There. And if you are making yourself a pineapple for some play food, this is where you could stop. But if you want to stay in and watch the embroidery, and I'll show you how to embroider the little eyes, the winky eyes with this, and give it a little mouth, this is where we are going to carry on together. And if you are making play food, just so you know, if you haven't already seen, I have currently a lemon, which you can make it look like that, and I have a positive P tutorial as well. And soon to come will be my carrot. And we're ready to embroider our face. You need to decide which side of your pineapple you want to be facing forward. So this side, I don't really like how the top looks there. This looks much neater. And so this is where I'm going to embroider my face. We have here, get those tails out of the way, we don't need them anymore. I have here some DK cotton. I quite like to use the cotton. I don't find that it leaves behind any little bits of lint. You will be embroidering both the eyes and the mouth with the same piece of yarn, so you want to make it long enough. But how long is that? Sorry for my American followers. I'm going to say in centimeters here, because that is that's what I've grown up with. So I'm going to say that that's about 40 centimeters in length, maybe slightly longer. It's probably more than we need, but anyway, you don't want to use a short piece. You also don't want to use a great big long piece. Right. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to use our push pins there I said it. We're going to use our straight pins to mark out the center column on the face. So I think this one here is the center. So just to make sure that our face isn't wonky. And then I'm going to take another pin and I'm going to mark. Here is the column that I have marked off. And you can see that all of the stitches are pointing so that the V is pointing right way up with the legs coming together at the bottom here to form the V. I'm going to count over one column. So it's not this one because my stitches are pointing the other way. I'm going to count this column and that one there. And I want my eye to be about there, my mouth there, or do I want it just a little bit higher? I think I want it to be a bit lower. So that's what you need to do, is you need to look at your face and decide how you want it to be, where you want your eyes to be and where you want your mouth to be. On this one here, I have them quite close together, which I quite like how that looks. So that's what I'm going for again. So I've used my straight pin to mark off there, change the hat. Here we go. I have marked off there and there. Good. So what I'm going to do is I've got my yarn on my needle and I'm going to start at the back of the pineapple, bring the yarn through, and I'm going to meet up with the first pin we put in. It's just a guide. The pin is just to guide you where you're going to do your embroidery. And you want to leave yourself a long enough tail that you are able to tie off with at the back. Now from here, I want to see how big do I want my winking eye to be. I don't want it to be a great big one, maybe you do, but I want mine to be quite small. So I am going to come from this stitch here where I've come up the center of, I'm going to cross over and into one stitch up. See, it's one stitch up and a stitch over. And I'm going to bring my needle down and back out, one stitch down and one stitch over. Now I want to make sure that I'm well inside the pineapple to hide this black yarn. Now, I have one follower on Instagram, Sleepy Dog Knits, who made herself the positive piece, and instead of doing the embroidery, she used fabric paint, which I think is a brilliant idea. So if you didn't want to embroider, you could just use fabric paint. Now I'm just making sure that I have come in and out of the same stitch. Now that I'm out, I'm going to come and go back in, making sure I'm going in exactly the same hole. And I'm going to bring my needle out on the other side where that second pin is. Pop it out. Now before I come over to finish forming this eye, I am going to pause and I am going to pin where I want the corners of my mouth to be. I can take this pin from the center, I don't need that anymore. I'm going to come down the center column. I don't want the mouth to be that far away, so I'm going to pin just down here sticking in the center column. This will be the bottom of my mouth. And here I will come up just one stitch over, put a pin in there, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. There we go. Right, now I will form that final eye. So I'm going to come over these stitches and back in, and I'm going to come out at this far corner of the mouth. And remember, you want to be deep inside your stuffing, so that you're not skimming along the inside of your stitches here, where you'd be able to see the black yarn through the knitting. So come down. Nope, I'm going to come out where I've placed that first pin. There we go. And just pull that. You want to make sure that when you're doing embroidery, especially on knitting, because the stitches are so loose, that if you pull it too tightly, it starts to make everything misshapen. Pulls it out of shape. Okay? So you want to make sure that you are gently pulling on your yarn, just so that it is not loose, but not too tight. Right, I can take the corner of the mouth pin out, and I'm going to come up and into the bottom of the mouth and come out at that final pin. Now look, I was saying, I don't know if I finished. This is supposed to be fun. I think I did say this, but you know, don't get upset if it's not working out. You can always stop, you can pull it out, take a little break, but have fun with what you're making. And now I'm just going to come in right at the same spot in the bottom of the mouth, and I'm going to bring my needle out the back to meet up with that tail. Oh, look. Oh, that looks so cute. That mouth is a little bit closer than my original mouth. And I think I like it this way better. But again, you know, it's your project, your pineapple. You decide where you are going to place everything. But I'm really happy with that. I think that's really cute. And just like every other time, tie your tails. Make sure that you are not tying them too tightly, because the tighter you pull back here, your embroidery at the front will get pulled out of shape. And if that happens, that's okay. Come back through. You can use your needle to come underneath and loosen the stitches up if they're getting too tight. Because again, remember, you haven't tied anything. So loosely tie your knot there. And then, like all the other times, you are going to pop your thread back onto your needle. Bring it back inside through the work. Oh my gosh, that's my dog. She is convinced that there is a cat up on the roof of a shed we have in our back garden. There's no cat. It is just leaves. And I don't know why she suddenly is doing this. I mean, she doesn't like when the cats are back there, but she'll run out there now. It's getting less and less, but for a few days there, she went mad. I went and cut back all the leaves. But she's still convinced. I'm hoping she grows out of it. I worry about my neighbors. They're lovely, but I would hate for them to be disturbed by a barking golden retriever. They're loud. Right, there we go. Oh my gosh, that is so cute. That is so cute. And all we have to do now is attach our tag. You'll remember I told you that I have popped a link down in the captions of this video to a pack of 3 different puns that I've written. This one is, I'm a wee little positive pineapple wishing you a pine-tastic day. So if you go down to the link, you can sign up and download all of those puns. And by signing up, you are signing up to my email list, where you can expect that I will notify you of when I have a new video coming out. I will send you any free printable downloads that I might have. I can also send you, well, I will also send you from time to time discount codes for my paid patterns over on Etsy. But you can find that all down in the captions below. Okay. Now, some of these positive fruit and vegetables, they have little arms. If you want to make yourself some arms, you could do that using an I-cord maker, or maybe you can crochet or knit yourself something. I'm not going to. I quite like how the tags look. So I have my tag here cut out. I'm going to take some of my yarn, thread it onto my needle, and attach that to one of my leaves. I'm going to attach it to the underside of this leaf here so that the tag doesn't interfere that cute little face. And I will just tie a quick little bow. Little. I know that lots of people are making little gifts that you take around and just leave. So random acts of kindness. I think one of these would make a great little random act of kindness. Or for those of you who sell in markets, or just for, just as a little gift for somebody. Or if you're like me, you put them in your office and prop them up at your computer to cheer you up during the day. And there you go. There's your little positive pineapple. I'm a wee little positive pineapple wishing you a pine-tastic day. Thank you for coming to Erin Makes Designs today. You might know that the positive pineapple is part of a series that I've put together, where so far I have a positive lemon and positive pea. I will soon be releasing my positive carrot. If you haven't already made them, you can find the positive lemon tutorial here. Right, till next time, thanks for joining in.